Our speaker has been a member of Toastmasters for over 25 years. In addition to developing speaking and presentation skills, Jen has also taken advantage of leadership opportunities within the organization. What she finds most attractive about Toastmasters is the opportunity to learn in a sandbox of positive and constructive feedback as she continues to develop those skills. Toastmasters is a passion for Jen, along with Johnny Cash and any Pittsburgh sports team. Based on the premise that bad experiences make good stories, Jen has derived a list of leadership tips from lessons learned. Finding humor while being resilient is the core of her message. So please welcome Jen Zappone with her presentation, The Quirky Leader's Guide. Welcome, Jenny. Yay.
Thank you, Sandy. When was the first time being a leader meant something to you? I go back in time to first grade. Sister Margarita had us lined up to go to lunch, from shortest to tallest. Believe it or not, I didn't make the cut that year. Sean Lally was shorter than me. True story. The second time that being a leader meant something to me came in advanced individual basic training at Fort Lee, Virginia. I was standing in the back row with my hand raised. The drill sergeant was picking out people that had rank. I was a POC at the time and didn't really think that was very high. It's a mystery to me to this day how Drill Sergeant Robinson saw me with my hand raised in the back row, because I hadn't grown that much since first grade, and called me up to be a squad leader. It was another thing where you were at the front of the line again. Through the years, being a leader has evolved. Sometimes it's when you were being elected as a Toastmaster district officer. Sometimes you're leading a group where you work. Sometimes I was leading a project. Sometimes I was leading a conversation. And sometimes it's just trying to get my family gathered together to go to dinner. It comes in a variety of forms, lengths of time. Lasts for short periods of time, lasts for many, many years. The only thing that stays the same about leadership throughout the years is it continues to evolve. It's that whole change concept. When I think about leadership, and I've thought about it often through the years, what makes a good leader? What lessons have I learned from all these bad experiences in my life? They say bad experiences make good stories, and they are so not wrong about that one. With enough time, you can find a lot of humor in it, even if in the moment it might not be so funny. Let's take a look at some definitions to kick us off. Leadership is defined as the process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. I've seen lots of different definitions for leadership. If you Google it, there's like 12 million out there. This one resonated for me because it made the most sense. Take a look at it. Nothing in that definition says you have to have a title. It's not even in there. It doesn't say you need to be a senior project manager. It doesn't say you need to be a CEO. It doesn't even say you need to be a mom to be a leader. It's really the process of social influence, which is having an impact on those around you. Maximizing those efforts of those around you. Looking at their strengths and their weaknesses and pulling them all together for the third piece, achievement of a goal. Even if all your goal is realizing that you're going to go to Outback for dinner, it's still a leadership position. So leadership, again, defined as the process of social influence, which maximizes the efforts of others toward the achievement of a goal. So why quirky and why resilience? Quirky is characterized by peculiarity, if you will, unexpected traits. These make me laugh. Everybody has their quirks. Some people think me liking Johnny Cash is a quirk. I just call it being real. But it's different, right? We all have a little different filter that we experience life. And so those quirks rise to the top. Being resilient is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, or toughness. There is no leader that you see around you that has not experienced or tapped into their resilience at some point. Even the harassed mother trying to figure out what you're doing for dinner. The project manager who can't herd cats to get them all in a box, and they like boxes. Even the CEO that might have 5,000 people underneath them. Resilience comes from responding to things like COVID, natural disasters, people leaving. It comes from all of that. And that's why the Quirky Leader's Guide to Resilience is important. When you have those moments in time and you sit there and wonder, is it worth being a leader? Do I have a choice? I've got to put up with this? So while you're putting up with it, take a look at this list and let's see how we can make that work. Tip number 1 for you today. Half of being smart is knowing what you're dumb at. Picture a cat with its head in a vase that it can't get out of. Didn't realize it couldn't get out of the vase. It just thought, hey, this looks nice. I'll just stick my head in here. One of the stories I have for you today with this one, I remember sitting in a Toastmaster audience. And I remember the speaker talking about Krakatoa, I believe it was. And he said, everybody knows. I sat very quietly and felt really stupid because at the time I had no idea. I had to go up to him afterwards and say, Fred, what is that? Can you explain it? Every one of us has a different knowledge base. Unless you've got a photogenic memory, you're not going to remember everything you've heard, and you're certainly not going to hear everything that's happened through the course of Earth's existence, if you will. Don't rely on your knowledge to say that you're the only one. Somebody else might have that missing piece that you need to complete that goal. Take a project manager. Currently, I'm working on managing some software products, seeing them through to their implementation. I know nothing about coding or how that all gets put together. I don't need to. I need to know what tasks need to happen to get that project to completion. Somebody else needs to know about the code. That's that social influence and maximizing the efforts of others. I go to those people with that knowledge and pull them in on my team so they can aid in that. As a leader, I don't have to know everything, and I don't know everything. Just know what you don't know and know where to find those answers. Next, Hocus Pocus, I need some focus. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my mantra forever. I sit at my desk and I look at all the things I need to do and I go into overwhelm. Any of you that know me know I love lists. I do. I would write something down just to check it off. But I get so overwhelmed by writing all those lists and keeping track of them that I lose focus. I become unproductive. I forget what the goal is at the end of the day. That's why the mantra, Hocus Pocus, I need some focus. When you're a leader, you have a goal in mind. You have a vision of where you want your company to go, or a vision of what you want for dinner. Focus on that in order to pull those people together to achieve that goal. Everybody needs to know what they're looking for, right? Where are you at on the path and what are you trying to get to? Have you ever been in that frustrated position where you're just a clog in the wheel and you have no idea where the train is going? It's really important as a leader to provide that goal so your people can focus on that. It isn't brain surgery. I have some experience with this particular one. Let's take you back to 2016 when I found out I had a brain tumor. My life basically stopped. It was a train wreck coming up to that point to begin with. When I discovered the brain tumor, believe it or not, I was ecstatic because I had an answer for what was going on in my world. My focus had narrowed down to, I don't feel good, and do I really want to get out of bed today? Coming through that journey and onto the other side and standing here before you today without any walkers or worrying about if I'm going to fall down after this presentation, what I can tell you is some things just really aren't that important. I know, I get it. We've got to meet those financial goals. We got to pay the bills. You got to produce profits and results for your company. You have to produce goals for Toastmasters. I get it, absolutely. But if what happens in the next 5 minutes isn't going to matter in the next 5 years, don't spend the next 5 days, 5 months worrying about it. It really doesn't matter in the end. Be present in the moment and take time for that perspective. Is it really all that important when it comes down to it? If it's work, let's face it, if you hit the lottery and leave your job tomorrow, they're going to find somebody to replace you. It's not brain surgery. Zig Ziglar. Have you ever heard the quote, motivation doesn't last, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. I think about motivating my people when I'm in charge of a project and realizing that every single person in my audience has a different motivation. Some motivated by money. Some are motivated by some thanks, some gratitude. Some are motivated by me dropping a stack of papers on their desk and walking away so they can work. Some have other motivations. Every single one of us has a different way that we stay motivated. As a leader, I have to realize what that motivation is for my group and to keep them motivated. And again, it's not something you can do at the beginning and then forget it halfway through. To get to the end of that goal, you got to keep motivating people along the way. Times get tough. We get unfocused. We need to be brought back. Think about that when you're a group of people and look around and ask, what motivates you to be here today? What brought you to this point, to this project, to this position in your life? And keep checking in with that because it too changes. Excuse me, I couldn't hear you. I was talking. This is a direct quote from a Johnny Cash album, Live at San Quentin. It struck me when I heard it. He was saying something, he was talking in the dialogue, and an audience member yelled out something, and he didn't hear it. Now, it seems innocuous on the top, right? Okay, that's kind of funny, Jen. Why are you bringing it up now? If two people are in a room and you're both talking, nobody's listening. And if nobody's listening, there's no communication going on. Have you ever had somebody talk over you and you get really frustrated because they're not hearing you? Or how about those office scenarios? I sat in a meeting and everybody kept talking and they asked me a question. As I composed my answer, somebody said something else and jumped in. And then later came to find out that, well, Jen said, and Jen hadn't said a word. It's really important to give that voice to those of you that are following you. Do you hear them? Do you give them a chance to answer? And do you listen to comprehend and not respond to whatever they're saying? It's a two-way street. And it's important as a leader, you set the example and listen. Next on our list. This is me not being you. I love this saying. Why? There's people all around me that get in my head and they have that, you should do this. Do you know what I think you should do? I really think you should do this. My mother, I hope she's not on this call. You should sell your house. You should tell your kids to move out. The list goes on. The thing is, I am different. My circumstances are different. How I'm experiencing my life is different. This is me. And while I want to emulate those around me, I don't have to do things exactly the same way. Another example for you. Back in 2019, I was sitting easy as the immediate past district director of District 23. Thought, okay, I got this. I just spent 3 years in the district trio, and now's my time to slide. I'll take care of the district leadership committee that we have, and then I'm going to take a vacation. I got a call in December from Larry Bilo, who was the current district director at the time. Jen, I'm not going to make it. My cancer came back. I need to step down. Sadly, he passed away 3 months later. I stepped back into district leadership to cover the rest of his term and realized I loved Larry, but his leadership style was very, very different than what I was used to. Stepping back into that situation and realizing the differences in how we led was an important piece of success. I had to realize how I needed to turn those around, change the learning curve to make it shorter so they could understand how I led versus the same way that Larry did. Not to say that he did it wrong or I did it wrong. There's no wrong answers. It's just different. It's important to realize while you totally love the way somebody does something, that might not fit you. What feels good on you and what feels good in your soul? And that's you doing you. Next, don't get run over. I know what you're thinking. I'm going to walk outside that door and get hit by a bus. There's no buses really that go on my street, so I'm safe. Don't worry about that. The thing is that even if you're on the right track, you will get run over if you just sit there. Let me think about when I started college. Yeah, it was great. I had these great ideas. I was going to be a physical therapist. And I was on the track, got into the University of Pittsburgh, and sat there. I did a little more than that, but not the straight A's I needed to get into Pitt's physical therapy program. I didn't budge, and I got run over. Changed my major 3 more times before I graduated. It might seem like you're on the right track, but if you're not moving, life's going to pass you by. And you're not going to get any further to the goal. Think about that. There's your goal out there, and you're sitting on the train track. It's not moving, and you're not moving, so you're not going to get to achieve the bottom line. It's really important when you get that focus to take action and keep going on that track. Law of motion. Yeah, physics. Who knew? The law of motion states that an object at rest stays at rest until an external force is enacted upon it. Also, an object in motion stays in motion until an external force is acted upon it. Didn't think too much about it when I was sitting in physics class or listening to my mom lecture me about physics. But it hit me when I stepped into leadership. If your project, for instance, is sitting there at rest, not moving, it's not going to move unless a catalyst or force comes and pushes it. That's you. That's your role as a leader, to push that project forward, not to leave it sitting there wondering what it's doing. Let's take the other side of that. An object in motion stays in motion until an external force is acted upon it. I really embraced this when I realized as a leader, if my people are in motion and they're going toward the goal, I need to not be that force. I need to stay out of their way. How many times have you been in that position? You think you're doing great, and your leader, possibly a micromanager, comes in and says, yeah, no, that's not the way I want to see you do it. And you're like, but, no, it's got to be this way. About 15 years ago, I was a division director in Toastmasters. I was responsible for the leadership training that we do twice a year. I was all excited. I had my lineup. I had an agenda. I'm like, okay, I got it. One of the district leaders higher than me came in and said, no, Jen, that's not going to work. That's not the way we do it here in Timbuktu. I'm like, I'm not in Timbuktu. I'm in Las Cruces and El Paso. This is the way we do it. No, not good enough. It's got to be this way. I was so frustrated and derailed by that I totally lost motivation. Seeing a theme here? If that person is moving and you get in their way, they're going to demotivate. And you might lose a good team member because of that. However, the contrast of that, if they're staying at rest, that they're stuck. You've got to move their roadblocks. If I was one person higher than the person that derailed me, I would remove that roadblock and get that person out of my way so I could do my job. I've seen it happen in the corporate world. You think you understand what's going on and you're all in motion, and then somebody changes the goal. I worked at a company down in El Paso. I was in IT. I was so excited. We had all these projects coming up. After 6 years, I realized I'd never really completed a project. They keep changing. And when you become that leader and you get into that position, it's important to do that communication thing and tell your people where that goal is and maybe why you might be changing that goal. Let's review. Putting it all together. I'm going to go back and break these down a little bit for you. Half of being smart is knowing what you're dumb at. Do you really know everything? Most people will come to me if they want to know anything you want to know about Johnny Cash. I realize that's a specific knowledge base that not everybody has. If you need me for Trivial Pursuit, please let me know. I'm happy to help. Not everybody has that knowledge. Your knowledge is specific to you because of your experience. Not just any book learning you might have done along the way, not just what your college degree might say. It's specific to you because of what you have learned in your time on this planet. Don't look down on those that don't know what you do, because they haven't walked in your shoes. I know if somebody was walking in my shoes, they would have tripped and fell a long time ago. Because I tripped and fell, they would have followed me a lot. Anyway, keep in mind to be humble with what you know. And look, don't be afraid to ask what you don't know. That's the sign of a good leader. Hocus Pocus, I need some focus. Again, take this and use it in your world. We have all these distractions flying at us. There's social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, what have you. There's your outside influences, your family. Could be your kids, could be your partner, could be your mother coming to visit that are going to distract you. There's work, the ever-present work that we have in our lives that takes up 40 to 50 hours a week. In some of our cases, we can add Toastmasters to that list. It can get very, very overwhelming. Take a step back and take a deep breath and find one thing to focus on. Focus on that for the next 15 minutes and then look for the next thing. It's not brain surgery. Keep it in perspective. Make it fun. Why shouldn't our time on this planet be full of laughter and joy? One thing I will tell you is a story I had when I worked in the corporate world. I was great. I was happy. I was joking around with somebody and happened to laugh. That was not a good thing, evidently. I got called into my boss's office, sat down and said, "You laughed too loud. You annoyed somebody. You need to pretend you work in a bank." That should have been a sign, right? These aren't my people. If I can't laugh, then I probably need to find somebody else, someplace else to work. I didn't feel too bad when they laid me off a week or two later than that. Bathe often. Check in with your motivation, not just for your team members, but for yourself. A while back, I will tell you, I was a big Tony Robbins fan. The past does not equal the future. Today, I'm more into Dr. Seuss and Zig Ziglar. They speak to me with the experiences I've had today through the filters I have today, not the ones I had 10 or 15 years ago. Even your motivation changes. Take exercise. It's really easy to get motivated when you're young and don't sound like Rice Krispie treats and milk when you stand up. It's nothing to go out and take a walk. However, as time changes and evolves, and the knee joints don't work as well, and everywhere you go you creak, and you need a masseuse every other day, motivation for exercise comes low on the totem pole, does it not? You've got to find new ways to pick it up and say, okay, I'm going to muscle through this today and I know I'll feel better. Maybe it's a different playlist. Maybe it's a change of scenery. You get my point. Even you aren't the same as you were 20 years ago, or even 2 days ago. Excuse me, I have this great quote that I found one time. I know you heard what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realized that what you heard was not what I meant. I loved that quote, still do. Because communication isn't always as easy as it sounds. I've given this presentation several times, and somebody said, what do you mean you have brain surgery? That's not funny. Oh, excuse me, I thought that was the funniest part of my speech. Well, that's really serious. I was like, yeah, that's the point. You can't make it so serious that it overshadows the joy you're going to find in your life. Listen to yourself and to others. Open those lines of communication. This is me not being you. Be yourself. Take that time to realize what kind of a leader you are, what your leadership style might be. And keep in mind that that leadership style is going to change from experience and scenario to experience and scenario. I might have a whole different way of voicing it if I go into some office and somebody says I laugh too loud. More now than I did then. I would have said, thank you. Here's my 2-week notice. Don't get run over. I get the train tracks are going somewhere, but they're not going to lead you if you're the train that's stuck at the station. Move or get out of the way. Remember that law of motion. If an object at rest is going to stay at rest, you as a leader, be that catalyst to move it forward. That object in motion stays in motion. Remember to get out of the way. That frustration of your team members below you, when you frustrate them and get in their way, can decimate your project, your goal, your plan, your team. That frustration isn't going to see through to the goal. I realize that these are quirky aspects of what I found from being a leader. Life is full of fun and laughter. It doesn't stop when they go up through your nose to take the tumor out. It doesn't stop when your kids grow up. It doesn't stop when you move through jobs to get a better one. It doesn't stop when you enjoy what you do. It's ever changing. Everybody's a leader, whether you have a title or not. I don't care if your title is CEO or if it's really logistics assistant for the household. You're still a leader. You're still trying to have social influences to maximize the efforts of others toward the achievement of a goal. That's what leadership is all about. Take these tips and reflect on your leadership style. And remember, go out and have some fun and laugh.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. Barb Schumacher has her hand raised. Let me see if I can get this to work here.
I raised my hand by mistake. I am very sorry. I was just thanking Jenny for a nice leadership speech and saying that, yes, indeed, I agree. We are all leaders every time we speak or selling something.
Thank you, Barbara. How true, right? Whether we're just trying to sell ourselves to get a new job or trying to lead the way through the drive-through lane, it doesn't matter, you're still a leader. I see Razi has a question. What do you do as a leader when your team only works in your presence the moment they turn, they stop working? That is very common, is it not? Even if that team is your kids trying to clean their room. What I think, I'm sorry, I got distracted by somebody's comment. When I'm in that situation, and if they stop in my presence, I go back to my goals and my tasks. I go back to my checklist. I go back and have accountability. I am still looking for that word that replaces accountability that's a little more sexy than accountability. That sounds more like an accountant, and I've really never thought that they would be like a James Momoa type thing, right? But accountability is important in your team. And rather than micromanaging them, I go back to my project and I break it out in tasks. And then I start checking in. And if those tasks aren't completed, then I go back and say, okay, guys, what's the roadblock? What's preventing you from accomplishing this today? And how can I clear that roadblock? I get it. It's really, really frustrating. And not everybody has the same motivation as we discussed, or the same goal that you do as a leader to achieve the goal of your project or your team or whatever that might be. It's really important, though, to go through those steps and to see if that will indeed put them in motion to get the job done. What else?
Anybody else have any questions? Raji says, great presentation. Thank you, Jenny. Steve says, I'm so proud of you, Jen. Beatrice is saying, thank you for the presentation. I was told I was too loud. Now they miss me in person.
Right? Yeah. They welcome you back with open arms right after they tell you laugh too loud.
Yeah, somebody else has their hand up here. Let's see if we can.
Gladys, you have anyone influence as a leader, and who I've learned from to follow their style. I would tell you that I've got many influences as leaders, and I pick different things up as I go along. Some of them would be one of my fellow mentors, Tracy Thomason. He's done a great job as a leader, and I like the way he did things. The other people that I look at are people that can put things together. Whether it's somebody like a Zig Ziglar or a Simon Sinek that have a turn of phrase, or the people that look at you and want to embrace you as a team member. I don't know if there's one specific leader person that I look for. I think it's more like picking things up from everybody that I come across. I know that doesn't help, but I really look at everybody as a leader, and even my children, and go, how can I learn from this? Thanks, Karen. A lot of you, for those of you that said, great presentation, thank you. Thank you for being here. I so enjoyed putting this presentation together and had a blast with it and hope to keep evolving it. So thank you for joining. And if you have any feedback, you saw my email, jenny.zappone@gmail.com. Please reach out and give me some feedback or tell me some stories that I can use in my next speech.
Lots of stories.
Lots of stories.
Lots of Toastmaster stories. I think you read all the questions, so you see them. Anything else anybody wanted to ask before we go? Our next speaker will be Tracy Thomason. Tracy has been Jen's mentor for a lot of years. He is a former international director, and he is going to have a wonderful presentation on putting people first. So mark your calendar for 6 o'clock, January the 20th, to listen to Tracy Thomason, because I think you will really enjoy him. So if there's nobody else that has any questions or anything like that, thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and get a hold of Jenny if you have any questions.